Howdy everyone. So like I said in my last video, I've started work on this mechanism here to release the hinge so that the oil door can be opened. And I'll recap this super quick. So I had chosen to use the stock door, the stock van supply door on the cowling. So it is nothing fancy. It's just the stock door mounted in the recess. I've talked about it before. A lot of people will redo the hole in the cowling and make flanges and make a new door so it fits better and it fits nice, and it's just a nicer, cleaner look for sure. I chose not to go that route, so this is just the stock door in the stock location. The inside of it, I made my own hinge, just using a piece of piano hinge and a bent piece of aluminum. These, this hinge half here and this piece here, these are this hinge half here and this piece. These are held in place with rivets and fuel tank sealant. This one, this hinge that's attached to the door, it has a spacer in it to make up for this step between the cowling and the door. There's a step here. So the spacer and the hinge half, again, those are held to the door with rivets and fuel tank sealant. And the hinge pin, this hinge half is also our fuel tank sealant and riveted to the cowling. So this is the latch per se. This is what holds the door closed. And my thought was to go ahead and have the hinge pin removable through the inlet of the cowling. So this is what I've been working on the most over the last day or so, day and a half. So there's a lot going on here, and I'll show it better when I pull this tape off, but here's what I've done. So there's this part of the cowling is thinner than this part. This honeycomb area is thick. And what happens is the hinge is mounted on this thinner part. So the hinge pin, since it's on the honeycomb, it sits up higher. And as it comes in, it will almost ride on top of the hinge instead of going down and into here. So what I had done was I had used a file and I'd cut a little bit of a trough in the honeycomb for the hinge pin to kind of nest down into. This underneath the tape is a piece of 1/4 inch thin wall stainless steel tubing. It's 32 thickness. It's a standard size tubing. And what I had done on the end here of the tubing was, if you can imagine the tube this way, I had cut the underneath of it about 1 inch from the end, 1.25 inches back. I had sliced off the bottom. So this area of that stainless steel tubing is just like a half round. And then I took that and I bent it down. And what that does is it forces the hinge pin into the trough. And it perfectly aligns it with the opening of the hinge. And then through trial and error, I kept changing the length of the tubing because you need enough flex in the hinge pin itself so that you can grab it and pull it up over the ramp. If you have this piece of tubing way up here, you'll never be able to bend the pin up and over the ramp. So I kept cutting the tubing back as short as I can get it so that the hinge pin itself will flex enough to clear the ramp. You don't want to make the tubing too short because the pin itself will start bending out sideways and you won't be able to slide it in. So this is just temporary because, like I said, I've been trial and error trying to figure out how to get this tubing shaped correctly and where to put it so that it will work correctly, nice and smooth in and out. So the way that it has worked out, this pin actually sits outside of the baffles. And I'll show you now. So this, obviously, this cowling is upside down. If you can imagine the cowling flipped right side up, okay, you can see where that hinge pin is in relation to the cowling. It's on the outside of the cowling, okay? So with the cowling on, with the oil door closed and the hinge pin in, that hinge pin actually sits outside of the baffles. So with the cowling in place and everything, all the hinge pins slid to hold the cowling in place, when you look in here and when you reach in here, there's nothing because the pin is actually out here. The pin runs down alongside the outside of the baffles directly into the oil door, and then the oil door opens this way. So when you close the door to latch it, you got to slide that pin in, which resides out here. So what I've been doing, again, with adjusting the length of the pin, not necessarily the stainless steel tubing, but just the length of the pin, I kept trial and error so that I could reach in here with the cowling in place. I can reach in here, fold down my baffle material, and grab that ring. And then I bring the ring forward and down and pull it through this opening. And when I'm finished, by myself, I can stand over here next to the airplane, hold down the oil door with one hand, and push this pin back in with the other. It goes back through. Again, the baffles are held down out of the way. The pin slides over top, back into position behind the baffles, and then the rubber material just gets tucked back up into place. So it is literally 100% hidden. The only way that you can get to it is to reach in here and move the baffles out of the way. It's not the most convenient, but it does work. And it really does depend on where you end up having that hinge pin located when it's fully installed. If it's up too close, you can't get to it. If it's back too far, you can't reach it. So I kept fooling with the length and getting it so that it would be positioned in an area where I can reach under here, move the baffles out of the way, grab it, pull it out, put it back in, one-handed, with the other hand holding the door closed. And it actually works pretty well. It's inconvenient to reach up underneath here and try to find it sometimes, but the action of pulling it out and putting it back in one-handed works really well. I've got it so that it's nice and smooth, and it's not very difficult at all to physically get it to work. So all of that said, that's how I had come up with the length of the pin, the position of the pin here. Like I said, if it's too far forward, you can't reach it. It actually gets buried back here behind this inlet ramp. If it's too far forward, you can't physically reach in here and grab it. So this is the location that seems to work best, right at the bottom of the inlet ramp. And if I have it this way, if I have it out here, I can still reach it, but it's a little bit more difficult. If I have it laying down or almost up like that, the rubber baffle material comes right through here. And all I got to do is fold that material down out of the way, then I can reach in here and grab this and pull it on out. So the next step is to fit this a few times and verify that this actually works. And it seems to work quite well, so I probably won't change anything at this point. I think this length is good. I've got plenty of engagement on this end of the pin in relation to the hinge. This tube seems to be a good length. It seems to be in a good position. And this work that I've done down here, which I'll show you later, with cutting the tube and bending it, that seems to perfectly align it with the hinge. When the pin is completely retracted, putting it back into the hinge has been really nice. It's been perfectly aligned. I don't think I'll do anything else at this point, so what I'll do is, as best I can, I'll mark the location of the tube on this end, both fore and aft and up and down, left and right. And I'll mark the location of this end, basically center line here and center line here. I'll take the tape off, I'll prep the surface, and I'm just going to fuel tank sealant. I'll use fuel tank sealant to attach the tube to the cowling, but I got to make sure that I maintain this alignment. And then that will pretty much be done. At that point, I'll go ahead and I'll do my epoxy coating on the inside of the door because I haven't done that yet. And I'm also going to do that to these inlet ramps because I had blended the transition from the ramp and the cowling. There was a step here. So I went ahead and mixed up some epoxy and some flocks, and I've smoothed out these transitions both here and here on both ramps. Here's the other one here. You can see that I filled the holes where the clecos were holding everything together. So this is going to get the epoxy coating and the inside of the door. At that point, the cowling will be finished, the baffles are finished, and then I can start working on other things. I'm not really sure what that's going to be at the moment, but when I get it figured out, I'll let you guys know. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.